everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely impossible scene. This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakey will dive to the inside.
We'll go bust. We got our elbows out.
Ronner takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back. Once again, it is more Monday Evening Madness here at Premier Sim Gaming Leads for the penultimate round of Season 41 of PlayStation Tier 1. And with just those 2 rounds remaining, our Championship Crusade arrives here cloaked in controversy after last week's events in Saudi Arabia. What began as a pretty box office spectacle turned baffling, it has to be said, in the closing stages. Volokongan and Tony Richet went head-to-head in a fight for control of the destiny of this championship. Jabs were thrown, uppercuts returned back, but in the end, it was the stewards that handed out potentially the knockout blow in this title tussle. 2 3-second time penalties for Tony Richet post-race dropped him from 8th down to 11th, and just to add insult to injury, 3 licence penalty points were accrued, which means his overall tally has risen to 11, and that has triggered a race ban for this week's event. Big news indeed. That leaves Volokongan reinstated as the championship leader, but there's still plenty of work for him to do. Before any coronation can be confirmed to end it tonight, it would require him to win the race, something he has not done so far this season. But name a better place to try and accomplish that feat than the hallowed tarmac here on the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos, Brazil. If history is anything to go by, anything is very much possible at this sacred circuit. I am very much looking forward to it. I've got a picture of it over my left shoulder there if I get out of the way. Best circuit in the world of Formula One. Alongside myself, Tom Wilkinson, in the virtual commentary box. Logan, do you agree with that statement? Interlagos right up there with the very best? Back at it again.
I think that just explains how much I love this track. It is probably one of the most iconic tracks in the world, probably the most iconic sports venue in Brazil other than the Maracanã, and probably the Sambadrome, if that counts, in Rio. But anyway, this track actually used to be 8 kilometers long, and then they cut it down because this is too long, they said. And it would not be fun, they said. But now it's the 4.2 kilometer Quicknick that has been on the schedule since the late 80s, 1989, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe 1990. I know it was one of the two. But yes. And it is going to be the host of the penultimate round, of course, here in PSGL. The next round will be Abu Dhabi, and that will end it all for another season, and the second season on this game. But Volokongan can win the championship tonight if he wins the race.
Yes.
And that's the only way he can win it, because, of course, Alex Lofer's not in the league anymore, and Tony Richet's banned tonight. If he were to win the race tonight, it doesn't matter what Van de Geest scores, he would be on 78 points. And with only 17 available each race, it would be impossible to overtake him. But Volokongan's not won yet this season. So he has to do something he hasn't done all season to achieve his goal and take the most prestigious of trophies. I say that because this is the oldest, longest running division in the entire league. And it's a privilege to be commentating on it tonight.
100%. It is an interesting one because we were talking about Volokongan a few weeks ago. 3 podiums in his last 4. Now it turns into just 1 podium in his last 4. So the form was dipped ever so slightly, but he has been handed quite a big favour. As you mentioned the standings, let's have a look at the full rundown of how the points are looking. And it really illustrates just how dramatically this Championship Crusade could swing tonight. Volokongan arriving with that 2-point advantage, and in many ways he can kind of treat this race as a bit of a free hit, all but guaranteed to head to Yas Marina, lead leading the championship. The only question is either by how much or whether he does claw his way onto the top step of the podium for the first time this season and is crowned champion tonight. As for Tony Richet, it's now just a case of wait and see, realistically. If the gap is less than 10 points after tonight's action, he'll still fancy his chances, I think, heading into the finale. But from having this championship race in the palm of his hand just a couple of weeks ago, after those back-to-back victories in Silverstone and Mexico City, now finds himself reliant on external factors. The only other driver, realistically, that could upset the apple cart is Max von der Geest in third place, 16 points in the arrears. Finished fourth on the road last week after losing a drag race out of the final corner to Lawrence. But another post-race penalty, 5 seconds for Lawrence. Logan pointed it out as soon as it happened, crossing the white line at pit lane entry. That dropped Lawrence down from third to 8th. And saw Mats von der Geest return to the podium for the first time since the Belgian Grand Prix back in round number 2. Interestingly enough as well, last week's winner Dylan Hogland is absent tonight, and here's the form horse. So him being missing, that definitely leaves the door ajar for somebody to try and take this race by the scruff of the neck. If we look at the constructors' standings as well, it's kind of a three-way fight, but there are so many other variables that we need to think about. Ferrari have stolen the lead from Alpine for the first time this season, but they will have to make do without their lead driver, Tony Richet, on the grid tonight. Otsuzito, I think, is present, or was present last time I checked, so they've still got a top-line driver who has won this season to try and propel the Scarlet Charge forward. Alpine, they've been in freefall, realistically, ever since Alex Lofer left after the first 4 rounds. Just 2 points finishes from the last 10 available since losing Alex Lofer. Ivan Eskrich is here tonight, though. Checked in very, very late, so there is the opportunity for a driver that has finished on the podium a couple of times to rack up the points. That leaves us with VCARB in third. Interesting story here, with a potential backdoor opportunity. Dirk and Mats von der Geest have both stood on the podium in the last couple of races, 14 points adrift, and with the uncertainty surrounding Ferrari and Alpine, they could be perfectly placed to pick the pocket of the top two. Haven't led the Constructors' Championship at all this season, could go into the final round with an opportunity to steal it away from Ferrari and Alpine. Mercedes 25 points back, they'd need something bordering on a minor miracle, and at the foot of the table, Haas still clutching the wooden spoon. They too may be praying for a bit of divine intervention to climb out of the basement. Logan, heading into these last 2 races, we have a fascinating dynamic here. Volokongan, it kind of feels like a weight might be lifted off his shoulders, but there's still an awful lot of work that he has to do.
Still a lot of work, of course. He has to get big points tonight if he has to have the upper hand in the grand finale next week. As we have said, a win will win him the championship. He won't have to worry about the next race. And he's also got he's actually carrying the team for Mercedes as well. I can mention he scored 62 to Finley's 12. And that has actually kept them in contention somewhat for the Constructors' title. They will pretty much need a perfect score tonight. And if the top 3 teams were not able to... If the top 3 teams have an absolute nightmare, Mercedes would actually take the lead into the final round. But it is... let's be honest, seemingly unlikely because, of course, it's almost going to be certain a driver from each of those teams is going to score tonight. And if it's going to be Van de Geest, then it could be a big score. Evan Eskrich has been up there, but hasn't really showed up much, unfortunately, in terms of the top standings. How many drivers do we have tonight, actually?
We definitely don't have a full grid. I think we're around about 15 tonight going into Interlagos, which is, it's okay at this stage of the season, this stage of the game cycle as well. It's not too bad. Some drivers maybe are not necessarily feeling as confident as they should be. We can help them out with that, though, because... linked in the description of this stream. Sim Racing Setups, everybody. The best in the business. If you want to unlock extra performance, get your hands on the Pro F125 car setups at simracingsetups.com, and they are created by the drivers you see competing week in, week out here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. Esports and stable setups available for every single circuit, whether that's quali or race spec setups, dry or wet weather, optimal race strategies. It is all thrown in there for you. Free meta setup updates as well if we do get any tweaks to the handling model. 15. All available for £49.99. If you think 27 circuits $49.99 divided by 27 is pretty darn good value. If you use the code PSGL at checkout, that will give you a lovely 5% discount. Some of the best setups in the business, and moving away from that and back to the F1, in my view, the best circuit in the business. Interlagos, a sacred ribbon of tarmac, as we, that's the wrong thing. Should be the track guide. Let's have another go at this. There's the track guide coming up. Iconic sequence of corners. I mean, the roll call of famous corners around this circuit is incredible. The center S is absolutely critical to kick-starting the lap. If you get it right, you're in a really good spot. Get it wrong, especially on the opening lap, you're under massive pressure going through the Curva del Sol and down the Retroposta into Descida del Lago. We also need to talk about the weather, Logan, don't we? Because, well, here at Interlagos has a long and infamous memory for rain arriving very much unannounced.
Yeah, but that's Brazilian climate for you. It's kind of like the British. It's completely unpredictable. And when it rains here, it can pour. And when it does, well, best of luck. The strategy is going to be turned upside down, just like New Year's Day, because, of course, that was the Stranger Things finale. So, you know. But yeah, I think we're getting ready up right now. We just got the signal to ready up by Lawrence. I am ready myself, but I don't think my controller is. It's went back 35 years.
Yes, I don't believe that's going to work on a PlayStation 5, it has to be said. Remember as well, strategy back on the table also, the one-stop versus the two-stop debate. I think it will be alive and kicking here. If we go back to the start of the game cycle, it was kind of two-stop or bust realistically with the tyre wear here at Interlagos, but now with the development in setups, the one-stop, I should say, has become more viable. But we need to remember as well, Mexico from a few weeks ago, 19 drivers favoured the one-stop strategy. The one driver that didn't and diverged and went for the two-stop, that was Tony Richet, and it was a strategic masterclass that won him the race by over 10 seconds and propelled him into the lead of the championship. So, if you wanted a bit of a tidbit on how important the strategy is, I think that is your best example of it. But like Logan said, shortly going to be loading into the session. I see a couple of green ticks in the lobby, but nothing as yet that says we are going to load in. So let's do some predictions, shall we, Logan? What are we going to expect here? Is there a drive you're looking at pole position-wise and maybe the race win? Will it be Volokongan to take the championship tonight?
I can actually think this could be Volokongan's night, but he's still got all that work to do. Van de Geest hasn't won either, so two drivers to watch tonight are winless. Like Wolves were until a couple of weeks ago. Sorry. But yes, it looks like with the absence of Tony Richet, it could be anyone's race tonight.
100%. Going to be a really interesting one, like you said, especially if the rain gets involved. I think for Mats van der Geest, it's a really interesting one because those extra points that he's got, those extra couple of points from being bumped up to third post-race, maybe just giving him a little bit of impetus. Tony Richet not scoring last week with the penalty, not scoring this week. Volokongan in the last 2 weeks has been 6th last week and he was 9th the week before in Mexico. Had a couple of wheel issues going on. Pace wasn't ideal in that race at certain stages as well. So he's not on tip-top form and like you said, hasn't won a race. I can't remember the last time a PSGL PSF1 champion didn't win a race throughout their championship winning season. A lot of the time we have quite dominant seasons. Oscar last season is a very prime example. Won so many races in the second half of the season. Absolutely blitzed it. Ended up 30 points ahead of, interestingly enough, Volokongan, who was the bridesmaid on that occasion.
Which Oscar?
Which Oscar? There's so many. There's so many. Oscar who dipped after winning the championship. Didn't Nico Rosberg won the title and then said sayonara.
That sounds like that definitely sounds like a certain driver. But anyway, we are getting readied up now and we should be with you in about 20 seconds, maybe less, because a lot of people are readying up and loaded into the game.
Which is absolutely ideal. Remember, if you are new to PSGL, 18-minute short qualifying session coming up. No restart in between, which means all the soft compound tyres that they're going to use, they have to try and use them again or keep maybe a fresh set in their back pocket. If we do have a safety car, we speak about safety cars every week, although we haven't actually have had one throughout the entirety of the season. It's just been virtual safety car after virtual safety car, and even then, we haven't had too many of those either. It is sunny with a little bit of cloud cover across Interlagos today. And we will, of course, head into the 50% race, 36 laps following our 18-minute session. Welcome in, everybody. If you are joining for the start of qualifying, make yourselves comfortable. Let us know who you're supporting or who you think is going to take what is a very important pole position with Tony Richet out of the equation this evening. Already got Kai jumping in with some support for Volokongan championship leader now, of course, after the penalty that Tony Richet picked up. And for the first time, this is the opportunity for somebody to win the championship tonight, albeit has to win the race, Volokongan, to be crowned champion. As we see, who's first out onto the circuit? Trying to work out who it is. I think it's one of the Aston Martins potentially first out on the track. Although we can't ride on board. Yes, there it is. It is Phil, who I think always seems to be the first driver out on circuit for us, as he's going to be overtaken straight away by one of the Red Bulls. That must be Lawrence, and is on the intermediate tyre, so going for the intermediate pole position.
Wait. Yeah, this could be an all-timer for a lap if he gets pole position, but if you do know your tyre physics well, I don't think that's going to happen. But he's going to try it on inters, probably get some banker lap in. Should be good for P15, but you never know.
What we should say about that strategy is, though, to be fair, it's a short circuit, so you're going to be able to set maybe 4 lap times throughout this session. If he sets one of them on inters, I mean, he can save a set of soft compound tyres if needs be and give himself maybe one brand new set going into the race and guarantee that for himself. Robin jumping in the chat. If you want to sign up for PSGL, do you have to have no assists or is racing line okay? Well, there are actually assist divisions, but for the top tier, yes, it is no assists being ran. As we are going to jump aboard, not with the intermediate shod Red Bull of Lawrence. I think has been overtaken by a Williams. It must be Lars Kramer. Yes. Barreling across the line. Now we're going to go for a flying lap to kick things off in this legendary, hallowed piece of tarmac. Down to the centre. His legendary name. Roll call them. Got to be really precise there. The curves can spit you into the wall. And we invalidate straight away with Lars Kramer on the exit of turn 2 and through the Curva de Sol. Not the best start to the lap. Phil, though, has managed to keep it within the white lines as we barrel down the Retroposta now into Descida de Largo, which is quite a tricky traction zone. If you take too much curb, it can really unsettle the rear of the car. I just got to try and delicately balance the throttle on the knife edge of grip. A little bit of traffic as we bound up the hill into turn 6 of Ferradura. Maybe going to be feeling a little bit of the effects of dirty air, but both of them getting out of the way nicely, breaking down into turn 8 and switching it into 9 as well as we come up towards Bica de Pato of turn 10-2. Got to be so precise in the middle sector. Going to be very easy. This is where the tyre wear is going to kick in, especially in the race. The rear tyres are going to start exploding in temperature down the hill through Magulio and into the clumsy turn 12 of Jungshao. Phil avoids the curb on the inside, planting the throttle out of it, and now it's 20 seconds almost of foot flat to the floor through 13, 14 and 15. Lawrence on the inters does a 10.9. I think Phil's going to smash that out of the park. We're going to be in the 7s, are we? Yes, 7 flats for Phil. Decent start for himself. You'd like to think, though, we're going to be comfortably into the 6s as this qualifying session progresses.
So Lawrence is a very small margin behind, just about 4 seconds. He's much faster than Van de Geest, who's on softs. Although, let's be fair, that probably wasn't a seriously taken lap. Struggling to find a driver who's on a lap. I believe Nico is going to finish his lap. No, he's not. He's going to go again, it looks like. Because it definitely seemed like he pulled off that previous lap. Dirk is coming to the line, and Lars Kramer's left the session. That's not good news. Dirk goes to the top over 106.853. Just give me a second. I'm going to try and get Lars back.
I will let you do thus. Finlay is invalidated. Ivan Eskrig heading down into Bica de Pato turn 10. Try and hook the car and get the rotation that you desire. Hopefully the front end of the car bites and responds to your inputs as we go up towards Jungshao. A couple of tenths faster than Dirk actually through the first 2 sectors. Might get a distance slipstream from the Aston Martin in front. Championship leader still in the pits, Volokongan, not going for that early lap time. Here comes the Alpine. Otsazito up to second, 6.8. But is it smashed out of the park? Yes, by over a tenth of a second. Ivan Eskrig now leading the charge as Max von der Geest's first realistic attempt does get him underneath the 107 barrier. 6.9 for the man's third in the championship. But Ivan Eskrig battling away. Snacks, though, has been a bit of a qualifying specialist so far this season. Couple of front row starts, but hasn't managed to convert them into too many meaningful results on provisional pole as things stand on a 106.5 as Nico does a 6.999 to get himself ahead of the 2 Aston Martins.
So Snacks, the clear leader in this session with only 9 of the drivers on the board. Geosh trying to cross the line, but he's invalidated as well, so not good news for him. Leon starting his lap as I speak. I do think the first period of laps have completed. Don't see the other drivers on one lap going to be going again. But Leon started his lap. He's grinding the curb of the Curva do Sol before going down the Reta Oposta. I apologise to any Portuguese speakers. And then the Descido do Lago. And just on the edge, but he's still inbound, so it's all good. Then goes up towards Ferradura, a very narrow complex here, before going to Laranjinha. Laranjinha. I do again, apologies. Then Pinheirinho, that's a bit easier. Before the Bico de Pato, turn 10. And then it's Mergulho and Juncao after this. Junchao.
I mean, you sound absolutely fluent.
I have not done Portuguese on Duolingo yet. Anyway, enough free advertising. To the Subida dos Boxes and the Arquibancadas. And across the line it will be a 106.63, putting him second.
Very decent
one
lap
full
time.
tenth ahead of Ivan Grieg, but 8 hundredths behind Snacks.
His teammate has bailed, as has championship leader Volokongan on their first attempt of the session. Bobby Doo jumping in. And this is a lovely bit of lore from last season. It will be so poetic for Volokongan to win the championship in Brazil, like Oscar did last season. They were obviously teammates for McLaren. Volokongan switching from Mercedes customer to Mercedes Works team, and this is an opportunity for the first time to win the championship if he can take the race victory. Slightly wide of the first apex through the first part of the center S's. Nice curb usage though through 2 and keeping it really tight through the curve of the Sol, and in the middle of the Retroposta we fly. What's this first sector time going to be looking? Want to try and get under the 17 mark. It's a 17.1, so a little bit of time still left on the table there for the championship leader. But if you've watched Volokongan so far this season, qualifying not necessarily his strong suit. He's a very canny race operator and manages to work his way through the field very, very nicely. Very sharp on his strategic decisions as well. Through the middle sector we go. Turn 8, 9, keeping it hooked over on the curb, trying to keep it as tight as possible, limiting the difference. Now down into turn 10. Little bit of a slide on entry. Doesn't use the curb on the inside to rotate the car, keeping it nice and planted. And down the hill we go. Lawrence up into P3, 6.6. Good middle sector there for Volokongan. Uses the curb, unsettles the car ever so slightly. Looked a little bit stiff there going through Jungshao. Like I said earlier, clumsy corner, horrible little corner. You can lose so much time if you get it wrong. Foot flat to the floor. DRS flap open. What can the championship leader do? ERS light flashing. And it's P5. Good final sector. Good middle sector. Gets himself ahead of his main competitor in this race, being Mats van der Geest.
So Volokongan goes into the 5th place, 100th ahead of Dirk, his stable mate, but still 3 tenths and change down on Snacks. But he doesn't necessarily have to win. Finishing in the top 5 would give him a good advantage, but especially if he wins the race, he cannot be caught. He'll be over the line, and there'll be no need to have a title decider to determine the champ. We already have one. So halfway there in this session, and living on a prayer are 3 drivers who have yet to set a time. Lars Kramer, one of them, who left the session earlier, but is back in and is on a lap, coming through Ferradura as we speak, before the turn 8, which doesn't have a name on my board, before Pinheirinho. I love that corner. It's slower, but it feels like a lot of fun. This middle section has always been a lot of fun. Probably one of my favourite technical sections in Formula 1.
Agreed. Definitely, I would agree with that. Up until you get to Jungshao, which is an absolutely horrible corner. But yeah, you throw it into turn 6 of Ferradura. Hope that it stays planted and the rear end complies through 7 as well. Then trying to be so precise through 8, 9 and 10. Here is Lars Kramer up into P8. Gets ahead of Mats van der Geest and his teammate Nico. Just getting under the 107 mark to put himself just nestled nicely inside the top 10. Provisional pole sitter out there at the moment of Snacks in the McLaren. And is up by 1/3 of a tenth through the first set. But it is the middle sector where you find the time. You just brake that a little bit later, carry that little bit more speed, plant the loud pedal that little bit earlier to try and extract every morsel of time you can out of yourself and your Formula 1 car. As we go down the hill through Maguglia and up to Jungshao, continuing to find time. Another third of a tenth in the middle sector, just chipping away at it. How much battery has he got left to dump on the run out of Jungshao? 15 seconds, foot flat to the floor until you cut the beam to finish the flying lap. Provisional pole sitter 6.5 at the moment. Do we improve? No, we don't. Lost time coming out of the final corner. It was a 6.5 again, but 12 milliseconds slower. That could leave him vulnerable. Leon out there at the moment in the first sector. Ivan S. Krieg in the middle sector. Finlay is invalidated. He's up into P5. They're getting ahead of his teammate. Ivan S. Krieg miles away from the apex of Bika de Pato as Mats von der Geest goes 5th fastest, 106.7. I think Ivan S. Krieg, yes, has backed off on that one. 4.5 seconds down.
Yeah, not what you want in qualifying at all, but we've still got two drivers now, both on flying laps, on with no time at all. Guillaume is one of them. He's 57 seconds coming through the Subida dos boxes. And now the final turn, turn 15. What's it going to be for him? Well, only 12th. He's half a second down on Snats. Well, just under half a second down. What about Lepox? I think he's backed off. No, he hasn't. Yeah, he has backed off.
Looks tricky for some drivers to try and get that flying lap in, seeing a lot of invalidations. Otzito one, Dirk another, Finlay doing it as well. Ivan S. Krieg making a mistake also. Lawrence back out on circuit with just over a third of it to go. 6.5 minutes remaining. Championship leader also back out on track as well. Nico's made a mistake, is down by nearly 2 seconds. Really punishing drivers if they do make a bit of a mistake. Otzito motoring in the first sector though, 16.9. That is rapid pace, finding over a tenth of a second. And remember, Ferrari now leading the Constructors' Championship, overhauling Alpine for the first time this season. They'll be desperate to try, with Ossazito, the only Ferrari on the grid tonight, to extend that lead. Currently sitting at 2 points, hold off any kind of V-carb charger, but that is a blistering middle sector as well. Nearly 3/10 of a second up, and Snacks is looking downwards, thinking I might be about to get eclipsed here and usurped by the Scarlet Ferrari car. Barreling out of the final corner, foot flat to the floor, cutting the beam. Do we go fastest? No, we miss it by 3 milliseconds.
3 thousandths. In the Monza Ferrari as well. I love that car. The best Ferrari all season. I know that because I was there. I'll keep going on about that later. Dirk goes ahead of Volokongan, who's still on a lap. He's faster than last time, but I'm not sure if he's fast enough. He could go into the top 5 again by the seeming on that second sector time. Here he comes to the final corner. Goes right across the inside. That's perfectly allowed as long as you keep the tires in the white line. 106.669, just on the verge of 106.67 of 4th place for Volokongan, just ahead of Lawrence by 3 thousandths. I'm sorry, I had to mention that time.
Oh, Lauren's got to deal with a bit of traffic here in the middle sector. Had a couple of stabs at trying to get the car to go in through Ferradura. Put off ever so slightly. I think he might have backed off, or still going through turns 8 and turn 9. We'll see the delta as he comes up towards Bika de Pato. Slide on the exit coming out of turn 9. Does he rotate it nicely through Bika de Pato? Look, neat and tidy, it has to be said. Lauren's currently P5. Pole sitter, of course, last week, using all of the road on the inside down the hill through Maguglia. But yes, is 9/10 of a second down. Back end stepping out as well through Jungshao. I think this will be him returning to the pit lane. Dirk down by 19 seconds. We're looking for drivers that are improving. It is Phil, who we didn't quite catch, but the Aston Martin up into 11th, 106.8. Only driver yet to get into the 106s is Guillaume on that 107 flat, and then no lap time at all at this stage from Lepox going into the final runs of the session.
So very little time left. Everyone just preparing themselves for what will be their last dance round in the Lagos in this session. Remember, pole position gets you a point towards the championship. And, of course, the winner of this race will get 16 points. So the point could make the difference. I do think it could be 2 or 3 points for the pole position. But it is 1 for now. As we're about to see the final laps begin. We've got some drivers coming out. We've got Snatsk coming out. Otsuzito coming out, I see. Volakongan will be taking a few seconds before getting out there. Phil is still on the track. He and Leon, the only drivers on track. I say that until everyone's starting to make their way out.
Well, it is Leon who's going at a very sedate pace on their outlap. Has come out a little bit early, maybe to give themselves the room for a bit of a security run if this first one goes awry, or maybe there is enough fuel to go again. We'll have to wait and see. Logan, do you want to take us on a fully fledged flying lap with the man currently sat in third, trying to take provisional pole away from Snacks?
Leon 800s down on Snats, who's going to try and get a whopper of a lap in, going down through the first corner, the Senna S. Nicely across the first and the second corner, just stays within bounds, grinds the Curva do Sol's curb, gets the DRS on at full blast, down the Reta Oposta, making sure... Oh, he has backed off. Well, that was fun. Must have had a Was it the car in front, perhaps?
I think maybe he was down on his delta by enough that he thought, I'll sack this one off and we'll wait and see. Do you want to go with Snacks instead, though, Logan? 2 minutes to go. Pole sitter, provisional pole sitter, starting what should be their final lap of the session.
Snacks trying to extend his lead at the top, goes through the Senna S nicely on the curbs and on the second one as well. Across the Curva do Sol on its curb, 2 wheels on the curb, and now across the Reta Oposta towards the City de Lago. One of the most interesting curves in all of Formula 1. Keeps the tyres just in bounds. Has a purple sector. This is looking good for Snacks. Is this point going to him? Through Ferradura we go. Across the curb. And then on the outside, it's easy to get this wrong completely and ruin your lap. But he makes it look like not a problem at all. Through the Pinarino very nicely. Now the Pico de Pato, turn number 10. The slower corner of this track. Now towards Magulio. He's got to be careful not to hit the Red Bull, but he's fine. Towards Junkao, one of the slower corners on the track. And now the final run to the finish line to set his lap. It's 106.541, a beat which is set by himself. Is it going to be any higher this time? Yes, it is. 106.372.
That first
Good luck trying to beat that.
Was absolutely beautiful. Made a small mistake into turn 8. Otsazito was bailed, so that is the Ferrari's race run with 45 seconds to go. Snacks with nearly 0.2 of a second in his back pocket over everybody else. Volakongan, championship leader, has backed off in the middle sector. Got about 35 seconds to go to try and get round again. There are a lot of drivers making mistakes. Ivan Eskrig back into the pits and retiring. Lars Kramer up into 6th on a 106.7. We wait for Leon, who's in the grass, going through Jung Xiao. There is a lot of interesting goings on here.
Now, what's going on with Volakongan? He's not getting a lap on. Is he just not wanting to bother with this? It's quite strange here.
He's done.
But he had fuel in the tank. Maybe he wasn't confident about getting around again. If he were going, he would be going on completely before going up the curves, just after Jun Xiao, but he's not. And he'll be stuck down in 5th for now, but that obviously could change. Lawrence goes to 3rd, 300ths behind Otsazito. Dirk has backed off, so he's out of the running. Lars Kramer he's not going on a lap. One driver that is going on a lap is Guyosh, and he stays in the bottom, which is about 6.5 temps down. And I do believe that is the end of the session unless Nico can get to the top. And he just goes above Van der Geest for 10th. And that is the session. Snats gets the fastest lap, pole position point. It is the fastest lap after the end of the day. And he will go up 1 point on his championship tally, and that, I believe, will take him to 27 points. Yes.
What a weird end to qualifying. Felt like nobody was able to find any time. I was riding on board with Snacks, and that first sector in particular, that was stunning. The run through the Senna S's was precision perfect. Made a small mistake, turned in slightly too early for turn 8, corrected it, made sure he didn't invalidate, and got the lap time one and done, and takes pole by a decent chunk as well, nearly 0.2 of a second. Zito continuing to power Ferrari's Constructors' Championship charge with a front row start. Lawrence again quick in qualifying, going from third, ahead of Leon Dirk, and then your championship leader Volokongan. To win the title today in Tony Richet's absence, needs to win the race. And don't discount it, starting from P6. Lars Kramer goes from 7th, ahead of the second Mercedes of Finlay. Ivan Eskrieg, the lone Alpine, trying to continue their championship assault in 9th, with Nico rounding out your top 10. Max von der Geest just outside, ahead of Phil Lepox, Zwade and Giosh in 15th, the slowest of the runners. Not a great qualifying for Max von der Geest there. Needs to try and find a little bit of time. Remember, he's still in the championship equation, only 16 points back, with a couple of races to go. And if Volokongan has a difficult weekend, or a difficult week here, I should say, there's the opportunity for Mats von der Geest to make a real impression, as Zwade has left the session as we load into the race. That is unideal. The weather, though, set fair, I think the best way to put it. And we've got the fans after Volokongan as well.
Got him back. Yeah, we've got some Volokongan fans. I'd like to apologise to Lepox. I do believe I got the flag wrong. I said he was from Senegal. If that's what I said, I do apologise. It is actually Cameroon.
Senegal, of course.
Yeah, they won the Cup of Nations. Controversially, they walked off the pitch, and I thought that was to buy time. And then again, it was a bit of a controversial decision. But again, congratulations to them. I thought Morocco were going to win in the last minute, but that obviously didn't happen. And there were some unsavoury scenes when, certain things happened. I think it was it the goalkeeper's towel was being sabotaged or something?
Yeah, it was.
But then again,
it was. I think Zwade's gone again. I mean, this is football chatter rather than Formula 1, but it is relevant, contemporarily relevant. Sadio Mane, I think, gained a lot of people's respect, more than people already do, with how he conducted himself. And have to feel for Morocco. 50 years since they last won the African Cup of Nations. Opportunity to end that drought on home soil. Losing it in extra time is a bit of a body blow, but they are an extremely, extremely good nation. Hello to Dylan Hogland, who isn't here this evening, but watching along in spirit. Form driver Dylan Hogland, winner last week, of course, in Saudi Arabia, and we have to extend our congratulations once again. Zwade's game crashing is unideal for the second time in 30 seconds. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think we're going to get a restart. Zwade is starting from 14th, I believe, yes. But as we get ready to go, we will have 5 red lights. Volokongan needs to win the championship, starting from P6. Lights out, and we are racing for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Penultimate round of the season. Phil is apparently leading the race already as Snacks keeps his lead. On the run down into the center, S's rebuffs the assault from the Ferrari of Zito. Phil still apparently leading the way according to the timing charts, but I can tell you it is this Papaya and Chrome McLaren. Lawrence and Leon getting stuck in the battle for 3rd place. Down the Retropost we go. Who's going to be last of the late break is the Sauber on the inside. It's going to have to be a long way round for Lawrence to hold on for 3rd. He runs off the circuit, and that is Leon taking 3rd place off his hands. A little bit of argy-bargy as Wade gets back in the session. Dirk trying to get involved. Had a little look up the inside. Lawrence tried to nab it back around the outside, up into Ferragura. Now Volokongan sends it down the inside of Dirk. Saw the smallest of opportunities to fit a Mercedes-Benz Formula 1 car, but it's left him having the cold shoulder ever so slightly, because here comes Lars Kramer, nipping at the heels of the championship leader. Volokongan still trying to pick up places, has the inside through Pica de Pato, and does keep 6th.
Volokongan stays in 6th for now. Van der Geest is down in 11th.
Finlay down the inside to Jun Xiao, by the way. Sorry to cut in there. He's stormed down the inside of Lars Kramer, who's now lost out to his teammate as well. Lars Kramer losing places hand over fist because Ivan Eskrieg arriving on the scene. Also, Finlay, that was opportunistic. That was late. We could be 3, maybe even 4 wide into the center S's. Finlay in the middle of the circuit. It's Nico down the inside in the Golf liveried Williams. His teammate Lars Kramer still trying to rebuff this attack from Ivan Eskrieg, and he does so successfully. Keeps 9th position.
Barging through Lars Kramer into 9th place. Now he's got a teammate right in front of him in the Golf livery, so not really. It feels like F2 for a second. And now Van der Geest is going to try and get into the points, and he needs these points if he wants to stay in the championship. Can't seem to get it though. Ivan Eskrieg retains his 10th position and that point as it stands, but of course 35 laps to go. Those points are far from being set in stone. The back 5 are having a bit of their own battle as well. but it's still Snats leading the way by a comfortable 6 tenths, but nothing is comfortable when DRS is activated within 1 second. All but Spade, of course. Spade is still, well, it looks like he's joined the session again, but he's 3.5 seconds down. So he's got a bit of catching up to do. He's got to hope the safety car comes out or everyone backs into the shover. But 100%. It is still Snats leading the way ahead of Otsuzito as you start lap 3.
Otsuzito, fastest lap. Leon, fastest lap. Remember, Otsuzito has won so far this season, winning in Spain before we broke off for the Christmas and New Year break. Snacks has started towards the front a number of times, hasn't quite managed to convert that into consistent podium finishes, hasn't won a race so far this season. This is a golden opportunity for the chrome-plated McLaren car to pick up a win in the penultimate round. Championship leader Volokonga now has his teammate for company behind as Giosh and Lepot's debating 13th and 14th. The Sauber soldiers on through down the inside, ran a little bit wide through the scene of the Lager, but I don't think Lepot is close enough to think about an assault on the run up the hill into Ferradura, and it will be 13th place for Giosh. Fairly equidistant the gaps until you get back to Nico, who's sternly examining the rear geometry of Finlay's Mercedes. If you remember last week, there was a bit of a tete-a-tete between the two Mercedes cars. Finlay sent it down the inside of a number of cars. One of those was Volokongan, and it potentially cost Volokongan an opportunity to try and make up places late on in the Grand Prix. Had fresher tyres than everybody else, had already got stuck in with Tony Roche, which is what led to the penalties being handed out to the Ferrari driver, leading to the race ban that he picked up this week. So there is, a world where Volokongan's even further ahead.
Yes, that's right. Lap 4 begins, and it's still Snats in the lead. It's been pretty quiet at the very front of the field, but it has been all sort of bonkers to start the race further behind, but it seems to have died down, and Giosh already falling victim of the corner cutting penalty wizards. They have given him a 3-second time penalty for excessive corner cutting, and that means that will be ended at the end of the race. 3 warnings equals a penalty of 3 seconds. You could get a 10-second penalty if you completely cut a corner and try and gain an advantage, but you have to be pretty foolish to do that. Lawrence just behind Leon, but I don't see any real battles happening for now, which is surprising for a circuit like Brazil.
Yeah, people just digging in at this stage. We know that Lawrence can be pretty punchy when he goes for his overtakes. Note Max von der Geest on the hard compound tyre, one of 2, the other being Phil, who sits directly behind. Wow! Massive tank slapper for Lawrence coming out of Jung Xiao. Had to catch it once, twice, and possibly even thrice, keeping it pointing on the straight and narrow, but cooling any chances of maybe trying to steal a mark John Leon in front of him and take 3rd place off his hands. Volokongan closing up to the back of Dirk, meanwhile, into the centre S's to start lap 5, but not quite close enough to make a move down the inside or indeed around the outside. But returning to Max von der Geest, had a really good race last week, started on the hard compound, switched to the mediums later, and fired them up to some tune, battered his way through the pack, ended up with that 3rd place courtesy of Lauren's post-race penalty. So watch for Max von der Geest late in this Brazilian Grand Prix, especially if there's a chance that he could get himself firmly into the championship picture.
Yes, absolutely. So the 2 Williams with Nico and Lawrence Kramer currently 8th and 9th, chasing down, hunting down Finlay, who is just behind Volokongan. He's really playing right hand man to Volokongan if necessary, but he seems to be doing that now. Now, what are the pit strategies going to be? We've got all the drivers, bar Van der Geest and Phil, on hard, on mediums. Those 2 drivers being on hard, road runners, as you can see. Road runners. But yes, looks like they'll be going the long game tonight. With the medium pitters obviously pitting early. It should be a 1-stop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, should be a 1-stop. Remember, earlier in the game cycle, it was almost a nailed-on 2-stop here at Brazil. But like I said, since the setups have developed, the 1-stop definitely is a viable strategy. But we need to remember Mexico, not dissimilar with the tyre wear levels on this game. Tony Roche went for the 2-stop when everybody else went for the 1-stop, and it was that strategic masterclass that won Tony Roche that race by over 10 seconds, as everybody else was bumbling around on tyres that weren't working particularly well. Temperatures shouldn't be quite as high as they were in Mexico City a few weeks ago, but still something that we just need to bear in mind if anybody does decide to roll the dice and go for the 2-stop. And we have had 2-stop races, Austria being a notable one from a few weeks ago.
Yes, of course, we remember that race very well. It was a pretty fun one. But yeah, seemingly this is probably the most bored I felt all season. Sorry to be a critic, but then again, football's gone worse in my opinion. Seeing those 0-0 draws.
All of those, the long throws coming back and the short corner techniques. Oh, it's gone back to no more creativity.
Gone.
The flair's gone. Where's a JJ Kocher when you need him?
Yeah, my dad is a Newcastle guy, and obviously he really fell asleep at watching that match. But yeah, it was just horrible to watch. But back to what we're supposed to be commentating on. Evan Grieg is closing up to Lars Kramer, 2/10 the gap, and he's on. Well, no, he's on the medium. But is he on the hards? No, unfortunately, he's not yet. He's starting to close up to Lars Kramer as I speak. Pops is closing down to a defenceless Giosh. There's no DRS range, and he's also got a penalty, so he's going to lose that place regardless.
Yeah, first break in the DRS train, courtesy of Giosh in 13th. Unlucky as well to pick up an early 3-second penalty. And yeah, very early. I think he got it on lap 3, so that's 3 warnings accrued in the first 2 and a bit laps of the race, and that is maybe a little bit concerning for his prospects as things continue. As things continue out front to be fairly stable. Snacks holding on to the lead ahead of Otsazito and Leon, who is still coming under pressure from Lawrence behind, with Dirk and the 2 Mercedes happy just play the long game and play the spectator role at this stage of the stint. And this is also where these medium tyres will just be starting to feel a little bit worse, a little bit spongy. The understeer will be kicking in, the oversteer on exits, the back end will be hanging out a little bit more than it was, not quite as planted as it was in the opening couple of laps. And interestingly, Finlay keeping very, very close to the back of his teammate, especially through that first sector through Desida de Lago. Not trying any audacious sends into Ferradura or indeed into turn 8, but maybe just something to keep an eye on there as well.
Yeah, I was about to say Lawrence had a bit of a slide out to take it.
Oh, Finlay's dropped it, coming out of turn 9. Half spin for Finlay, off into the grass. Caught it absolutely red-handed there, just lit up the rear tyres. A lazy, lazy half spin. So painful when that happens. And that's Volokongan's rear gunner. Dropped down into P14. Little bit of a clumsy mistake there from Finn. He needs to work hard to try and get back into the DRS range. Firstly of Giosh and Lepox, and maybe try to leapfrog or play the strategy card to get himself back with his main rivals. But the rear tyre temperatures will have been accelerated by that, and he just needs to try and keep a lid on them in the next 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, and Lepox is going to overtake Giosh for 12th, so he's now through into 12th. The hard tyre runners are starting to gain ground on Evan Grieg. You can tell because Lepox's, Giosh initially, was not keeping up with the pace of the hard tyre runners, Max van der Geest and Phil. That probably led them to falling behind. And yeah, but Finlay now down
Giosh.
A mistake, and Giosh has... What's happened to him?
All over the place. Was wide, had a big tail snap coming through the curve de Sol. Lost it again on the entry into Desida de Lago. Wonder if his tyres are just absolutely shot after 8 and a bit laps, and he'll be making his way into the pits fairly soon, allowing Zway to try and get back onto the heels of this secondary chasing group as well. Max van der Geest applying the blowtorch to Ivan Krieg, who's not had a particularly strong middle sector, 3/4 of a second off the back of Lars Kramer with the pink Miami spec RB car very closely behind, watching in his mirrors coming out of Zhengzhou. But again, just this DRS train that everybody seems to be a little bit stuck in at the moment. The story of F124 and F125. Max van der Geest there even getting out of the slipstream to try and cool the car, getting out of the turbulent air. Ivan Krieg late on the brakes and missing the apex by a country mile. That presented almost an opportunity there for Max van der Geest to unintentionally send it down the inside. Wasn't quite able to make it work and having to remain in 10th for the time being. And you can again see Max van der Geest and Phil ducking out of the slipstream, trying to cool the car.
And Sved has finally made a position in this race. He takes Giosh down for 14th, but then he goes wide. That'll surely be a warning on his resume. But still, I don't see any close battles up front. It is getting closer up the front. They're within half a tenth at the top. And we could be seeing an all-out war between Otsazito and Snack if it continues to go this way. But now Snack's starting to pile on the extra milliseconds. He's much faster in the corners, seemingly. Let's see how it pans out when we go across to the next corner. Doesn't look like Otsazito is getting anywhere near Snatsk. see that, and he's now 4 attempts. And Leon is still about half a second down. Further down, is there going to be a chance open for Max van der Geest? Let's see how he fares. And Giosh has left the session, which is adding to his woes. Let me just invite him in.
In a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. Snacks has definitely got Otsuzito covered when it comes to the straight line speed. The run out of Jungshao down into the center S's. Max van der Geest still unable to get close enough to just get a foothold in this battle for 9th place between himself and Ivan Eskrig. If we look at the Constructors' Championship, Charles, Ferrari will be extending their lead, although RB might just bring themselves into play a little bit more with Dirk in P5 and Max van der Geest in the final points paying position. Alpine, that's probably going to be their race run unless somebody comes in next week and does a sterling job in the Aston Marina in the season finale. Championship leader, speaking of Dirk, he's got the championship leader all over his gearbox coming through Jungshao. Less than 4/10 of a second was the margin, but again just extends out as drivers grappling for front-end grip in the dirty air. And Volokongen's had enough of this. He's going to bite the bullet, the championship leader, along with Nico in the Williams. They're going to box and get shot of their medium compound tyres. So the first punch in the strategy game has been pulled by the championship leader. It's a bold one.
There's a battle between Ivan Eskrig and Max van der Geest for P7. And van der Geest has got ahead of Ivan Eskrig. But look at this. Phil is going to get involved as well. He and Ivan Eskrig are going to come to blows together into the City of Lago, and it's going to be Phil that gets into 8th place. So I do apologise once again for cutting into you, but yes, looks like Volokongen and Nico are on the hards, but van der Geest has gained a position while that has occurred, and Ivan has lost 2.
That Alpine looks a handful as well. I think maybe are we seeing the effects of the tyre? Are we falling towards that 2-stop race? 11 laps done for Volokongen and Nico on their set of medium compound tyres. 25 laps on a set of hard tyres. It's doable, but that's a long old way to trek to try and get to the end of this race. And on the button there, Max van der Geest and Phil able to keep up with Lars Kramer in front. Who's going to react here, though? That's the next question. Snacks the race leader. What do you do here? Do you react to Volokongen, or do you stick to your guns and stay out? The McLaren continues on, but the Ferrari of Otsuzito behind does elect to come into the pits, as do the 3 cars behind him. Leon is in, along with Lawrence and Lars Kramer, and Ivan Eskrig as well. So that's going to throw a few spanners in the works. Dirk moves up into second ahead of his teammate Max van der Geest and Phil. Finlay soldiering on as well, as he's just disposed of the Haas of Lepox. But where is the championship leader in relation to these cars? Very unique pit lane exit, I think is the best way to describe it here in Interlagos. Volokongen 11th on the timing charts. He was 6th on the road, remember, before the pit stops were made. How much track position has he managed to secure? I think he's behind Otsuzito, but got himself ahead of Leon in the Sauber, yes. Oh no, he's side by side with Otsuzito. The Ferrari spat out of the pits in the path of the Mercedes. They're going to duel down into Desida de Largo. Armful of opposite lock for the Mercedes on the outside. Otsuzito getting his elbows out, trying to help out his teammate who's absent. And Otsuzito does keep that Mercedes at bay. That was close quarters racing. Volokongen, I think, smartly realising there's a bigger picture to try and fight for, but he's got himself maybe into a net second place here with Snacks continuing on out front. The undercut is fairly strong. Otsuzito holding himself ahead of the Mercedes, with then Leon behind Nico, Lawrence and Lars Kramer.
A crucial moment for Otsuzito, defending his position over Volokongen as Snacks does pit. Now, he was undercutted by the remainder of the pack, and so was Dirk actually. Dirk didn't pit either. Let's see how he comes out. He's coming down the pit lane now. Watch Otsuzito and co come through. How is it going to end up? Snacks is trying everything he can to get the power down. He's going to have the inside. He's going to be behind the Volokongen. He might be behind Leon here.
Wow.
He is.
And look behind as well. Look at Lawrence all over the back of Nico. That was close. He dives down the inside into Desida de Largo. I think he spooked the Williams off the track. And Lawrence actually losing it over the curb on the inside and handing 12th place on a plate to the other Williams of Lars Kramer. Lawrence, I think, was a little bit ambitious there, chucking it down the inside when the space didn't present itself. Now down the inside again of Lars Kramer. That's very late. He gives him a shoulder barge, a rugby tackle, one might say, off the circuit. Lars Kramer, I don't think he's going to be particularly enamoured by that. Neither the stewards, as Lawrence there, getting his elbows out to some tune in the middle sector.
Yeah, that was totally uncalled for there. Lawrence went right into Lars Kramer. And that is not a good look for him, as Finlay has pit, by the way, and I'm sure Spade is going to as well. Yep, he's also in. but I did not like that from Lars Kramer one bit. There was absolutely no need for that. I'm surprised he's not got any damage from it.
Yeah, it was a big old whack, Lawrence, into the side of Lars Kramer, who was just minding his own business on the run into turn 8, and then saw the flash of a white Red Bull chucking it down the inside, having to get out of the corner. Both of them off the circuit, bit of lawn mowing for Lars Kramer as well, and in doing so, they've taken them both out of contention with this DRS train that goes from Otsazito back to the Williams of Nico, who Lawrence in the first place was trying to pass. So double-edged sword as Guillaume retires in the pits. Hasn't made half distance. First driver to bid adieu in this Brazilian Grand Prix as we are down to 14. But if we look at the championship picture, spoke about how Volokongan qualifying not necessarily his strong suit, but his race management is very, very good. And he pulled the strategy card there well to get himself 4 spots. 6th on the road, now finds himself a net 2nd, albeit just struggling to cling onto the coattails of Otsazito as things stand, who's stretching his legs at the front of this 5-car train. But he's got himself in a position where, if he can just stay in P2, give himself a chance going on to the last lap, could be winning the championship tonight.
Van der Geest is caught up to his teammate who's yet to pit and will breeze into the lead as Guillaume is retiring on track. Hopefully that doesn't cause a problem to Otsazito and friends. Well, I say friends, they are his mortal enemies behind him. As Guillaume is about to pull off the track.
This could be a concern.
Not really, he's completely clear now. So the battle will continue without hesitance. And it seems like the closest battle now is between Phil and Dirk, but then again, Dirk is on older rubber, so he should be pitting anytime soon. And we'll see how the two hard run starters will do when they pit.
So Otsazito, the net race leader, Volokongan got himself up into a net 2nd place as Finlay, his teammate, picks up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Leon a net 3rd, ahead of the pole sitter Snacks. And this has kind of been the story of Snacks' season, really. Qualified really well, but then been undercut by drivers while running towards the front. Stayed at a couple of laps longer, and then lost that track position. It's not been an uncommon sight to see him qualify 3rd or 4th and end up 7th or 8th in a DRS train coming to the end of the race, just because he hasn't quite been on the button and on the ball when it comes to the strategy, the undercut that other drivers are pulling. The 2 RBs still leading the way, neither of them yet to stop. Dirk definitely locking himself into the one-stop strategy. 16 laps, going to be 17 laps on his set of mediums. I would be very surprised if he doesn't pile into the pits at the end of this lap. Mats van der Geest going nicely as Lepox now with a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Phil also doing a very commendable job. They're 9.5 seconds clear of Otsazito, who, remember, driving for Ferrari, who are now leading the Constructors' Championship for the first time this season. No Tony Richet, but in his absence, Otsazito tracking very nicely for his 2nd win of the season.
Yeah, Phil's trying to get past Dirk, who is running out of juice on this rubber. He's falling well behind his teammates, so Phil should be breezing into 2nd. Actually, he doesn't have to do anything because Dirk has just pit. He is the latest of the pitters, and he will get the youngest rubber once he finishes his race, because he is going to get 19 laps on these hard tyres. That means Otsazito and the like will go up the order, but Otsazito, their current leader, he started in 2nd, and Snats starting down in 1st. Now down to what's next? Oh, now there's a fight between him and Leon, was that, and tried to get past, but is unable to, and it nearly ended in disaster.
Big squeeze applied by Leon there. Made it fairly clear, you are not coming down the inside of me, sir. As he got his elbows out there, Snacks desperately trying to get past the Sauber, who has fallen outside the 1-second window just about. Volokongan and Otsazito in front of the pole sitter. Really needs to get his skates on here and dispose of this Sauber if he's going to keep tabs on the leaders and give himself a shot at winning for the first time this season. Finlay with his 2nd 3-second penalty in as many laps. That's not a particularly good stat to be thinking about. Needs to keep it between the white lines. 6 seconds worth of penalties. Things can start to snowball and spiral if you continue to pick up those warnings. Is Snacks close enough on this occasion? I think he caught Leon by surprise a little bit on the previous lap on the run down into Tessida Largo. Got some really good straight line speed in this McLaren, but not close enough on this occasion into turn 1 to challenge the Sauber. Oh, Lawrence, by the way, diving down the inside of Nico. Last of the late breakers, a little bit too late on the brakes as he was, well, put out a missing person poster there because I did not see him at the apex of the center S. Terrible run through the curve of the soul. Opportunity maybe for Ivan Eskrieg as Snacks and Leon getting embroiled in a battle again. The Sauber off the circuit and a bit of a slide as well through turn 5. Snacks, does he have to go around the outside into Ferragira? No. Leon keeping that third place, net third place, still in his grasp, but this is getting a bit dicey.
Yeah, it is, and Snacks now really starting to get a bit unnerved, you could say, trying to fight Leon, playing around with Leon by the looks of it, trying to get that position back. He needs these points if he wants to prove himself he's a top racer. It might not be in the championship, he did join quite late in the season, but he's trying to prove that he belongs here, and Leon isn't liking it, it seems like. Volakongan is in a big spot here. He needs to get past Otsuzito, and that'll be championship over. He's not won all season. Tonight could be the most important win of them all, and he doesn't know that he hasn't tasted victory yet. It's quite funny.
Second place.
Oh
dear.
We've got 2 penalties, and go on second place.
Yeah, Lawrence and Ivan Eskri picking them up through the center S. I was just going to say, second place is still very, very good for Volokong. Gives himself, I mean, a 90% chance, really, if you were to look at the odds, going into the finale in Abu Dhabi. I think that would mean he would have to finish 8th or 9th to guarantee the championship if Tony Richet came back and win the race. So even if he doesn't take it tonight here in Brazil, a second place would do him the world of good at giving him some confidence going into Yas Marina and putting himself in the best possible position to win that championship after, of course, being runner-up to Oscar 1 season ago. This being the venue that Oscar confirmed the championship in season 40. Leon, I think, is just about going to keep the DRS to the Mercedes in front and once again keep Snacks at arm's length behind, and the assault and the attacks of the McLaren have just cooled in the last couple of laps.
What I've just noticed as well, and I've only just noticed this, they don't have the fan zone at the final part, the Junchao. I know it's licensed by a certain company, so I don't think they'd allow it in the game, but it's kind of a shame they haven't acknowledged the fan zone. But hey, the smallest details are not going to annoy me forever. I'm just pointing that out. Volakongan still within half a second, and Lipox has retired from the race. He's had enough. He's got a penalty, and it's all over for Lipox. We're down to 13 here in the Interlagos circuit, and Lars Kramer is one of them, and is trying to get ahead of Avanis Creek for 9th. Well, he's got a 3-second penalty. Unless he gets one, he'll be fine. And sorry, that's 7th. It's a race. Lars Kramer. This is a 4-way chain as well. Nico, Lawrence, Ivan, and Lars fighting for 7th place, but more realistically, it's a Williams double-decker sandwich.
Two meats in the sandwich there, and that looked a little bit unstable for Ivan Eskrieg going through Jungshao, and he's massively vulnerable here. If Lars Kramer can tuck into the slipstream, use what battery he's got left as the DRS flaps open for the Alpine and the Williams car. Opportunity to try and chuck it down the inside, or will the defensive shape be thrown by Ivan Eskrieg, who's going to be braver under brakes? Lawrence disposes of Nico in front. Lawrence chucks it down the inside again and misses the apex by a country mile. He was almost ending up in Argentina. He was so far from the apex of turn 1. That's allowed Ivan Eskrieg through, and now defensive down the Retroposta. Lars Kramer has to go the long way around. Contact as they bang wheels. These two have had a comings and goings already, and Lawrence chucks it down the inside. And I think that's a little bit of head loss there for Lawrence, unfortunately. Lars Kramer not given the time of day on the outside.
He's inspired by Max Verstappen from 2021 with that move. And now Ivan Eskrieg's right on the back of Nico. This is where all the battles have been happening, albeit controversial ones. But it is not... it's not giving the... Oh, a big slide from Lars Kramer, and that's going to cost him a lot of time, and Dirk's going to be hot on his tail with the much fresher rubber, and Ivan Eskrieg and Nico fighting around as well. But now it seems like as oh, by the way, the top 2 have pit, and it looks like that Dirk is going to squeeze by Lars Kramer. It looks like Lars Kramer conceded the position there, and Ivan Eskrieg is through on Nico for what's now 5th place.
Good move that. We're going to try and not show the dices between Lawrence and Lars Kramer anymore because it's not the best standard of driving that I've ever seen. Nico with a small opportunity to try and take 5th place back down the retro poster into Desida de Lager, but not close enough to get that 5th place back. But remember, Ivan Eskrig has a 3 second time penalty for corner cutting, along with Lawrence and Finlay, who has 6 seconds worth of penalty. So now we get to see as well the charge from Mats van der Geest and Phil on the medium tyres at the end. How far up the field can they get from 11th and 12th? Remember, Mats van der Geest with an outside shot at the championship. Things stay as they are. Volokongen will knock him out of contention. And remember, Volokongen, if he wins the race tonight, he wins the season 41 champion, and sat in a decent spot at the moment to do so. With a Watsuzito teammate, of course, of Volokongen's main championship rival, Tony Roche, will have something to say about it.
Big slide from Lawrence again as he struggles to handle the car. It's already 10 laps of these hard tyres. Is it getting cloudy? Or am I just getting confused?
Still blue sky above, especially through the retro poster. We're still staring at the blue sky. Here comes Snacks again, using some battery on the run down into turn 4. Has a look to the inside, trying to spook Leon into a bit of a mistake. The Sauber is slightly wide through Desida de Lager, but the McLaren can't make the move stick as Dirk disposes of Lawrence. Some clean driving for once, which is nice to see there. Dirk up into 7th place on the road. Is a net 6th with a penalty for Ivan Eskrig. And that should be 5th place very, very shortly. Much fresher tyres for Dirk. He took the pain early on by extending his medium stint 17 laps to the point of puncture territory. But now he's got a significant advantage. 5 laps over a couple of drives in front, 4 laps over Snacks to try and work away at them and maybe get onto the podium in the latter stages. Both RB cars are definitely going to be charging in the final few laps.
Yeah, so lap 24, we're about to complete 2/3 distance, and it's still Watsuzito in the lead. Volokongen needs to win the race to win the championship right here, right now. Tony Roche is probably watching at home on the sidelines, shivering to death because he knows the title could be lost here. We've got a big freeway battle here between Ivan, Nico, and Dirk for 5th place. Remember though, Ivan has got a penalty, so it might not matter much to him. But now it's Nico and Dirk fighting for the position. Is it going to be free wide into the corner? This might be dangerous. No, it's not, but it's more than like too wide, and that's Ivan gone all uneasy there after collision with Dirk. But it's Nico that gets into 5th place. And now Lawrence is going to join this battle again. Uh-oh.
Watch out, everybody. Good move from Dirk there. Punchy stuff. Ivan Eskrig getting all wobbly over the curbs, coming out of Desida de Lager, and that is 6th place now for Dirk. Nico struggling for traction compared to the RB. Doesn't send it down the inside into Bico de Pato. Still over 10 laps to go, so Dirk can be patient here. Doesn't want to get past, then give DRS to the cars behind and allow them to cruise back past him on the run down into the Senna S's. But this should be fairly regulationary. And you would think Nico might be worrying that he could get gobbled up here, but Ivan Eskrig with a poor run out of Jung Shao should put pay to losing multiple places. But with the helping hand of DRS, I don't think Nico's going to fight this at all. And doesn't. Through goes the RB. Winner, of course, of the Monaco Grand Prix this season. And that is 5th place. But look at that. Ivan does think about it down the inside. Got a nose alongside, but a nose all the same. As this battle continues off the road, Lars Kramer and Lawrence go again. Joined at the hip, these two, in this race so far. And it's Lawrence once again that keeps hold of 8th position, although that penalty will drop in behind the Williams come the end of the race. And I wonder if there may be some more penalties being applied post-race as well.
Yeah, Lawrence treating Lars like a rag doll again through the Senna S. It's starting to get ridiculous, and I will not be surprised if Lars has something to say in the steward's room post-race. He is now 4/10 behind Lawrence. Lawrence has a couple of penalties, I do believe. Let me just double check. He has 1 3-second penalty. It's Finlay that has multiple penalties. He has 9 seconds worth of penalties. And if you're going to look at it logically, has no hope of scoring any points tonight, as it seems. Van der Geest starting to catch up, and he's on the mediums.
100%. Need to watch out for that one. Snacks still trying his best to get as close as he possibly can to Leon into the Senna S's. Cranks on the steering lock as Mats van der Geest does dispose of the Williams of Lars Kramer. It'll be Lawrence next on the hit list. I don't think the McLaren, as we run down the retro poster again, is going to be close enough to make a move. And once again, Snacks having to sit behind the pole sitter. Currently not going to be finishing inside the top 3 as things stand. Still got 10 laps to try and change that, as Leon was slightly wide through turn 4. Close on the run up the hill into Ferriger, but again, Snacks not with the opportunity to dart it down the inside. Had a look into turn 8, but too far back. 5 seconds is the gap back to Dirk, who has 4 lap fresher tyres, and Snacks 5 and 6 respectively over Otzizita Leon and Volokongen. And like you said, we need to watch this bright pink V-carb of Max von der Geest working his way through the field. 10 laps to go. He could potentially catch the lead. It's not too far away. If he can pick these cars off fairly quickly, he could definitely be a threat to finish on the podium.
He could indeed. So the battle in the mid-pack continues. Van der Geest trying to get into 8th place ahead of Lawrence, who has already been in very hot water tonight. But now approaching the stretch. Is this going to be an easy move for Van der Geest? Phil has got past Lars Kramer. And how about Van der Geest? Yes, a lock up there, and he's going to lose the position, it seems. Oh, and Lawrence getting involved again. He touches the wheel of Van der Geest. He is not giving up any positions, so you're not about a fight. And he's got the DRS on, and he's triggering it all the time. I don't know why he's doing that, and he's gone horribly wide and loses position to Phil as well. And Lars Kramer's next. What's he going to do here? Oh, that was a pretty dodgy move from Lawrence. It seems like he cut him off and then went back to his original position. And he tries to go to the inside of Phil. He's nowhere near. And now Lawrence is going to try and get him back again. 9 laps to go.
I'm going to stop watching that one. Max von der Geest and Phil. That's one driver checked off the list for them to dispose of. Much fresher medium compound tyres. Can they make them work in the remaining 9 laps of the Brazilian Grand Prix? Still Otzizito leading the way. Equidistant back to Volokongen, back to Leon, and back to Snacks. Dirk is catching them pretty quickly though on much fresher hard compound tyres. Much fresher medium compound tyres for Max von der Geest. DRS flaps open for the Alpine and the RB. Nico could be in trouble here into turn 1. What moves are we going to see? Ivan Eskri, it might be attack is the best form of defence. It's a long way round for Max von der Geest outside of turn 1. Comes the inside of turn 2, just about enough space. Bit of a wobble for the Alpine coming out of 2, and that sends him into the side pod of Max von der Geest. And now the Aston Martin of Phil almost on the grass, trying to find a space around the outside. Ivan Eskri with the DRS gets back ahead of Max von der Geest, who gives him a love tap of the apex of Desida de Largo to boot as well. And Max von der Geest needs to be more clinical than that if he's going to catch the leading trio.
So the battle continues, 8 laps to go. Van der Geest trying to get the inside of Ivan Eskri. He thought about it going into the turn, but has decided not to go for it. Not yet. Phil licking his lips as well in that helmet, trying to get ahead as well. He's going to try and get into 8th perhaps, maybe 7th if he can find if Van der Geest makes an unforced error. But it is still a battle for the last point between Lawrence and Lars Kramer, but more on that later. The top battle is starting to drift away. It was about half a second, and now it's 6/10, so it might get further down as they come through the corners. Yeah, down to half a second again. Now is Ivan Eskri going to try and get past Nico here, or is there going to be a move from Van der Geest? No, it doesn't seem like it, as Finlay is now in the battle despite having penalties, and Nico's got a penalty, and that is his first penalty of the race, and that's not what he's going to want. That's going to be good news to the ears of Van der Geest and Phil.
Has he missed a trick here though, Max von der Geest? Was it a lap too late? Well, Ivan Eskrig all over the place coming out of Desida de Largo. Will it be the outside? Can he get to the outside of Ferragiri? The answer is no, but sliding wide goes the Alpine. Sensing an opportunity, smelling blood is Max von der Geest down the inside. Little bit of contact again. Brave under brakes into turn 8. Going to be the outside of turn 9. Lars Kramer with a penalty. Surely Max von der Geest has the traction, has the grip on those medium tyres. Yes, he does. A wobble again for Ivan Eskrig, struggling with the rears, and finally disposes of the Alpine. Phil trying to follow in the footsteps of the pink RB in front, but the British racing green of the Aston Martin can't go around the outside through Magulio. And that is finally 7th place on the road for Max von der Geest. Phil should be following suit as well. So much more grip on his fresh medium tyres. Max von der Geest not particularly close to the back of Nico, but it is going to be Phil surely disposing of Ivan Eskrig, both dumping the ERS. Max von der Geest might have to be a little bit careful here with the closing speed of the Aston Martin. Ivan, can he hold it around the outside? No, Lawrence almost taking a chunk out of the Alpine's rear wing, but both of the medium shod runners getting through, and Max might have an opportunity to get past Nico into Desida de Largo as well.
Well, let's see what happens here. It doesn't seem like there's a move from anyone in that group of 6. I'll tell you what, the battle between Volokong and Leon and Snacks is bringing up, and that's Leon gone into the corner. Oh no! Leon and Snacks collide again in turn 8, and for a moment, Leon was sideways, but somehow he is still in 3rd place and without any major damage. But he's fallen out of the DRS zone.
Oh, has he just got it back? Dipping his toes underneath the 1 second mark. Look at Dirk catching them hand over fist in the background as well. There was a bit of wheel hooking going on. Didn't quite catch what happened with Leon and Snacks, but it has, I think, lost the Sauber DRS, and it has done. So, opportunity presenting itself for the McLaren, who's weaving there down the straight, maybe saying that he's not going to go past Leon. Maybe it was Snacks' fault that the contact was made going into turn number 8 and just backing off. Max von der Gies, though, disposes of Nico down into turn 1. And the RB is now running 5th and 6th. Remember, outside Constructors' Championship charge as well. Mats von der Gies with Volokong in his 2nd. His Drivers' Championship push looking to be falling by the wayside. And Phil looking to follow through with the Williams. Very close in front, but not quite close enough for the Aston Martin to get past his Mercedes engine counterpart.
It's much cloudier now. Surely not, right? 5 laps to go. I don't think so, unless a safety car comes, but that's not happening. Otsuzito still leads by 6 tenths, and Leon is back in DRS zone territory. But is he going to have a chance at making a move? Is there any other moves happening? Well, Phil is trying to get past Nico. He's been itching to do it for ages. And, well, there's another battle for a point, but then again, they've got penalties there, but Swede is too far behind.
Oh, look at the leaders, by the way. Volokong with DRS getting very close to the back of Otsuzito into the centre. It's his first time that the championship leader has made any real move. That gap was just under a 1/10 of a second, I think it dipped to. Otsuzito just had to keep his wits about him. And for the first time, really, the championship leader making his intentions clear.
Yep, so here we go. It's starting to ramp up at the front, but it's also ramping up in the mid-pack as well. Phil doesn't seem to be making a move, but he's got the fresher rubber. He's running out of time. 4 laps goes away pretty quickly. Lars Kramer's lost the position to Finlay, so looks like Finlay trying to be the peacemaker between the 2 drivers that have been at war with each other, and a lot of war crimes committed as well. Submit that to the PSGL steward. And Otsuzito still leading, no, but how long?
How long is the question? Volokongen, little bit of a tail wag, bit of oversteer coming out of Zhengzhou. Leon, I don't think he's going to get DRS again. This looks like it's going to be an exclusive battle between Ferrari and Mercedes for the victory here in Brazil. The Mercedes, the championship leader, gaining all the time into turn 1, into the braking zone. Big lock up for the Ferrari, but does keep the lead of the race for the time being. Second bite of the cherry for Volokongen. If he can get a good run through the Retroposta to stay as close as he possibly can. ERS light flashing at the back of the Ferrari. Otsuzito, is he out of battery? The battle for the final spot on the podium as well raging on. Volokongen can't get through. Contact. Wheel locking again between Leon and the McLaren. The Snacks, the pole sitter, falls off the circuit, and Leon rebuffs that attack from the Papaya and Chrome McLaren car up the hill into Ferragura. Is Snacks close enough on this occasion? No, he is not. And with 2.5 laps to go, we're still as we were, but the gaps have extended.
Gaps have extended indeed, but now Volokongen has a chance. He has 80% battery. What sorts has he
Mistake
got
for
left?
Leon. Mistake for Leon out of turn 9. Lit up the rear tyres, and Snacks says thank you very much as he files on past.
Oh, it's raining! It is raining right at the end of the race. I don't think it's going to cause much of an impact, but it is raining. I've got to put it out there. And Leon's sliding. He's got nothing left.
Here comes Dirk.
Otsuzito still leads.
Oh, contact between the Sauber and the RB. Dirk, wheel rubbing going on again. There's not enough space being left. Volokongen closing again into turn number 1. The rain, it comes down quickly here in Brazil. Turning in early is Leon, not wanting to give that one up. Snacks almost collected by the pair of them. And now there's contact into turn 2. Leon, I think, is banged to rights there into the side of Dirk, who's half spun round. And it's just getting messy. And in front, Volokongen to the outside. This could be for the championship on the penultimate lap in the penultimate race. But Volokongen falls off the circuit. Can't get through just yet.
A right battle in the rain to determine a champion, is it? They've got no grip. They've got no grip. This is what's this going to do? It's pretty much put all the battles on hold. Lawrence has lost a position. Oh dear, that's not good. Volakongan, DRS is still enabled, by the way. It's not been disabled yet.
Oh, it's crucial.
I've not seen any sign of disabled. He needs to get past now, though. If he's got any chance, Zito sliding around.
No grip
What an
at
epic
all.
ending.
These hard tyres, the worst possible compound. Can't get the power down coming out of Jung Xiao. The championship leader is half a second back. Classic Brazil. Classic title decider as we start the final lap. Volakongan dumping the ERS. I don't think it's going to be into turn 1. The move is going to have to be, you would think, into Descida de Lago, but Zito, big slide through the apex of 1. Not a good run through 2. This could be the championship for Volakongan. He was the runner-up last season. He's got an opportunity to win it here in Brazil tonight. The DRS still enabled. It gets disabled now, but he's got to run round the outside. Volakongan for the lead. Volakongan for the championship. Synchronized sliding coming through Descida de Lago. Who's going to come out on top through 5? Volakongan, I think, has just taken it down the inside into Ferragira for the championship. Remember, Zito on the outside, refusing to give in. Who's braver into turn 8 side by side for the entirety of the lap?
They will not give up their side-by-side. They've been side-by-side for seemingly minutes. Can he get it, Volakongan? To turn number 10.
Understeer.
Side. This is the most epic ending I've ever seen in my whole career of doing this. They are slipping. They are sliding. They are wanting this first place trophy. But Volakongan wants it more. He's going to tire a line. He's on the grass. But can he get past at the end? DRS is disabled. Stats is coming in hot. He might find a way through. But Zito, I think, may just put Volakongan's champagne on ice for a week. He's going to hold on and win an epic ending. Wow.
Oh, my goodness me. I mean, you cannot write that, can you? Volakongan misses out on the championship tonight by a quarter of a second. Snacks was catching so quickly. Leon's got half a front wing. That's happened somewhere. No, he's got no front wing. That's happened out there. Neither has Dirk, so those two have seemingly got entangled and entwined on the last lap of the race. Phil comes home in 7th ahead of Ivan and the 2 Williams cars. That was for all the marbles. Zito just about, like you said, keeping Volakongan's champagne on ice. It's second on the night, but he is so close to that first championship in PSGL PSF1. But he doesn't take it this evening, missing out by a quarter of a second.
That wet tires, who needs them? What an ending. Zito holds on to win an epic. But that Volakongan may have not secured the title, but he has one hand on the trophy for sure. And Snats could have won that one near the end, but it was ultimately too far back. Let's have a look at the results. Zito, Volakongan, Snats, Leon, your top 4. Dirk, Van de Geest, Phil in 7th. Also had the fastest lap. Even Skrieg, Lars Kramer, Nico getting the final point by about 3.5 attempts. Yes, ahead of Finley, Lawrence, Frade, Lipots and Josh. Those 5 will not score. Lipots and Josh have retired earlier in the race. Frade disconnected at the start, and Lawrence was all over the place. Finley, of course, had the penalties. But wow! That was one of the most epic battles I've ever seen! And it was probably as clean as you could get as well. They were side by side for like half the lap, the final lap.
Unbelievable.
It was like watching, I thought I was watching Initial D again.
That was something. After a race that I think for a lot of us was a bit of a slogfest at times. You called it, didn't you, with about 6 laps to go. Is it getting darker? Is it, are the clouds coming over? I said, no, we've still got blue sky over the Retroposter. And then with a couple to go, start spitting. And like I said, when it rains here in Brazil, the grip goes very quickly. And wow, as a final lap, that is pretty intense. It means the championship does go to Abu Dhabi. Tony Richet still with an opportunity to win it, but 2 points was already the gap that Volakongan had, and he's just picked himself up 12 points, which means he'll be 14 clear, which means for Tony Richet, he will have to win the race and hope Volakongan finishes 10th or lower.
Yeah, that was just. I'm still trying to get over this. You know when you say like, "Oh, it's not gonna rain," you remind me of Michael Fish. Michael Fish in 1997, no, 1987. He predicted. He was told there was a hurricane on the way from America. He said, "No, don't worry, there isn't." Next minute, a big storm hits the southwest of England.
Ridiculous. Everybody jumping in as well. Saw the viewers spike on the final lap there. Welcome to everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. I can't even think of the word. Unbelievable finish.
Insane.
Have to congratulate Odyssey too, even though for storyline purposes, if Volakongan managed to win the championship there, I think might have been a little bit more exciting. Werner coming in saying, from Brazil, well, we love going to Brazil. Every time we race here, it's a barren. Even though the first 33 laps were a little bit dull, which is unusual for Interlagos, that was a crazy, crazy end. Like we said, championship does go to Abu Dhabi. Volakongan race of the season. Well, it was probably the worst race of the season up until the last 2 laps.
Stay here, the rain. Someone did the rain dance. Oh no, wait, the rain dance gets rid of the rain, doesn't it?
No, the rain dance does make it come down. Yeah.
I remember watching a reality show called Coach Trip, which is like much more low key than other reality shows, and they apparently were told to do a rain dance to stop it raining, and it worked. But then again, that's British television for you.
Well, I think we all need to detox after that. That was exciting. No champion crowned, although I think he's got more than one hand on the trophy. I think he's got 9 of his 10 fingers on the trophy. Volakongan there. If the maths are right, it should be 10th place to guarantee himself the championship, or 9th place, sorry, to guarantee himself the championship next week in Abu Dhabi, where Tony Richet, if he returns, that means that the championship will continue. If he doesn't return, then Volakongan is the champion, because Alex Lofer's not going to come back, and also Max von der Gies with that P6, good recovery after a difficult qualifying, doesn't keep the championship alive for himself. But it will be Yas Marina to decide it in a week's time. Before we go, a little bit of admin, everybody. If you want to check out the best sim racing setups in the business, well, the namesake sim racing setups linked in the description of this stream. Unlock the extra performance with your Pro F1 25 car setups, esports and stable setups for every single circuit, whether it's qualifying or the race, dry or wet weather, or some optimal race strategies you're after. They've got you covered, everything for £49.49. And make sure you use the code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. I'm sorry, Werner, but you have joined at the end of the stream.
Oh no!
Make sure you are here next week, because that will be the crowning of a champion, whether it's Volakongan or Tony Richet. 8 o'clock UK time. I believe that's 7 o'clock European.
Yep.
If you're from Brazil, I mean, I don't necessarily know the time difference. I apologise if that's slightly ignorant from myself.
4.
Is it 4?
I think it might be different depending on where you are, but I know in Rio it's like 4, or Sao Paulo it's 4.
Okay, but we're
America's 5.
8 o'clock UK time. Next week is when we will crown the champion. Will it be as exciting as that? We don't know, but hopefully we can all hope and pray, can't it? Logan, a pleasure as always. On the social medias, where can people check you out if they want to see what you've been up to?
Barely update the YouTube recently. Otaku Logan, it's just Otaku Logan. The tag name is Otaku Logan 2017. So you can go check that out if you want. I've already just got to 800 subscribers. That's just like one video.
Congratulations on that one. If you're interested, make sure you follow Logan first of all. If you're interested in what I'm doing, wilco.coms on Instagram and TikTok. But it is always a pleasure to bring this series to you. We've just got one race left in the 41st chapter of PSGL PSF1, and we could be having a brand new champion. Well, we will be having a brand new champion, but it looks dead set that it is going to be Volakongan with a 14-point advantage heading into the finale, if of course Tony Richet does turn up. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your week. The finale for PC coming later this week on Thursday as well. Stay tuned for that one, and we will be back 8 o'clock UK time, 7 o'clock European time. I should next season I'll learn this. I'll know the time differences, so you can come in straight away wherever you are, and I can say, yes, this is when we're on. But until next week, Logan, have you got something to finish on?
Yeah, 8 o'clock GMT, 9 o'clock CET, which is the rest of Europe.
Cool. So I was wrong. I was an hour in front rather than an hour behind, but ignore that. I'm clearly bad at geography. Until next week, it's an absolute pleasure where we will crown our champion. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy PC on Thursday, and we will see you in Abu Dhabi.